State's Jon Lentz, and joining me today is Julie Menin, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs in New York City. Thanks for being a guest.
Thanks, John, for having me today.
And now it's a year into the de Blasio administration. You've been commissioner of this agency since May, I believe. What has happened in those 12 months, or I guess in more like 8 or 9 months for you?
Well, we're very focused at the Department of Consumer Affairs at really making sure that we're making business easier for our small businesses. So just this past July, we announced 24 different reforms to reduce fines. The mayor has made a top priority fine reduction. So in the past years of DCA, sometimes small businesses were fined thousands of dollars, quite frankly, for rather small violations. And we're really changing that whole climate. So we're on target to reduce fines by approximately $5 million in the upcoming fiscal year. And for the first time ever, we're doing inspections in language of choice, and we're really putting online all of our various inspector checklists. So we're really making this a very transparent process and trying to help small businesses in all ways possible.
And this is part of the small business relief package.
Exactly.
Right. And you do things like licensing. Some people think, you know, look, small businesses, the city's just charging them a lot of money. From what you're saying, you're trying to ease the burden on small business, make it easier.
Absolutely. There's been a whole sea change in approach in the de Blasio administration in terms of fines on small businesses. So we announced 24 reforms in July, and they've really had a seismic impact on small businesses, because we know, and I know this firsthand as a former small business owner, when you get a fine, it can mean the difference between staying open and closing. And so in the past, many small businesses were being fined by DCA tens of thousands of dollars for relatively small infractions. Now we're giving small businesses the opportunity to cure many of those violations, giving them 30 days to cure, because honestly, many of these small businesses oftentimes weren't aware of what the rules and regulations were. So we really want to make it much easier for small businesses to operate in the city of New York.
Now, is there any downside there? Does that mean substantially less revenue coming into the city, less money to spend on various initiatives the mayor has?
Well, we believe very strongly that the $5 million reduction that we're projecting in the upcoming fiscal year is very important. We don't believe that city revenue should be derived on the backs of small businesses. With that said, we are extremely aggressive in terms of consumer restitution. So in the past 6 months, our consumer restitution is up 85% versus last year. So while we're trying to reduce some of the smaller signage violations, we're more aggressive than ever on consumer restitution. And in fact, just several weeks ago, DCA, we settled our largest settlement ever for $1 million on a consumer restitution debt collection case. So we're very aggressive in terms of the restitution.
And something that's got a little more attention is de Blasio's paid sick leave expansion, and I know you are dealing directly with that.
We are the agency responsible for implementing and enforcing the new paid sick leave law, which extends to over 1 million New Yorkers and obviously tens of thousands of small businesses. And I'm very happy to report that the implementation has been incredibly smooth. We have been able to mediate the vast majority of cases. We have right now 370 docketed cases, and we've been able to mediate a large majority of them, or we're in the process of mediating them. And that's really important, John, because the fastest way we can get an employee relief is obviously through mediation. It's best for the employee and it's best for the small businesses. So we're very focused on that. Of course, we will have some companies that, despite our best efforts to mediate, we aren't able to, and those will go to a notice of hearing, but that's a very, very small number.
Hey, I'm wondering, are there any growing pains? I mean, just getting employers informed about this, getting employees informed about this, is it going to take a while till everyone's really up to speed on what the law says and what's required?
We have made an incredible focus at DCA on outreach. So we have disseminated over 1.6 million pieces of literature on paid sick leave. We have hundreds of thousands of hits to our website on paid sick leave. We've done over 500 events just in the last 5 months on paid sick leave, both to employees and to employers. We're extremely focused on the education and outreach phase of this. And one of the things that we're most excited about is language access. The law says that we need to provide materials in 8 languages. We decided to go above and beyond that to 26 languages. And that's so important because for many of our immigrant-owned small businesses, we must make sure that they know the rules and regulations around paid sick leave, and we want to make this as smooth as possible. And we're also focused on job data. So we've really paid a particular focus to other cities that have implemented their version of paid sick leave law. So for example, in Seattle, they implemented their version in 2012. Their job growth numbers are stronger than ever. They actually beat the national job growth numbers by 2% percent there. And I mention that simply because for those that had in the past been critical of paid sick leave, I think that we've really been able to show that this has not in any way had a deleterious impact on small businesses. And in fact, small businesses have said it's increased employee morale and productivity, and of course meant lower healthcare costs.
And something that your office is also overseeing, and it's gotten less attention, is this Office of Financial Empowerment, various services you provide to less well-off New Yorkers, if they're dealing with debt problems, just opening bank accounts. Tell me a little bit about that. Is that something new under de Blasio or something you're expanding?
The Office of Financial Empowerment existed and was created a number of years ago. It's actually the first municipal agency in the country that deals with financial empowerment, but we're taking a different approach in this administration. We run 30 different financial empowerment centers where we help people in debt. We help thousands of people in debt by literally helping to put them on a budget if they don't have a budget, helping to consolidate their debt, helping to improve their credit scores, and if they're unbanked, we help to offer a safe and secure banking product called the Safe Start bank account. The different approach that we're taking is really in terms of outreach. In the past, the centers were, you had to make an appointment, and oftentimes there was a 2 to 4 week waiting time. We really want to instead have our financial counselors go out to where the people are, in NYCHA, in community centers, in senior centers, in youth centers, really helping people who are in debt and going out to where the people are rather than being more reactive. So that's a new approach that we're taking. We're also very focused on the earned income tax credit because we run the advertising around that. So you'll start to see some new ads that we're running and a new approach that we're going to be taking in the coming months to really focus on the 250,000 New Yorkers who are eligible for EITC but aren't taking that. And that's really important, John, because, for example, for a family that's making $53,000 or less and has 3 dependent children, that's $10,000 that they might be leaving on the table in terms of an EITC refund. So we want to make sure to get the message out about that. And then lastly, another different approach we're taking is really around Muni IDs. 2 of our financial empowerment centers are Muni ID uptake centers, and we're so excited about that because it allows us not only to be able to provide New Yorkers with Muni IDs, but also importantly, if they don't have a bank account, to help them to open up a bank account, and also to provide that wraparound financial empowerment services that we can provide at our centers.
Mm-hmm. And with the new municipal IDs that just rolled out in the last couple of weeks, there were initially some glitches with the website. There were some wait times. Has that been smoothed out, or are things going pretty well at this point?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's very exciting, in fact, that there are so many people who want to get the Muni ID. I mean, it's wonderful to see the kind of reaction that has existed at all the sites across the city.
Sure. Okay. And other than that, I guess I want to ask you one last question. Looking back to the Bloomberg administration, the transition to the de Blasio administration, is there one thing that's shifted the most in terms of focus, or maybe there's something they were doing before that you wanted to drop and go a different route?
Well, in terms of our agency, as I mentioned before, fine reduction has been a top priority for the de Blasio administration. So we have really worked very hard to reduce fines and to do really more outreach, particularly to immigrant-owned small businesses across the city. In terms of consumer protection, we've launched very aggressive investigations into employment agencies. We sent out 115 subpoenas to employment agencies that we believe were engaging in predatory conduct. We've launched an investigation into Santander Bank for predatory auto financing that we believe is a real issue. We've also sent out over 200 subpoenas to the used car industry, who we feel are putting recalled cars back on the market. So we have a very aggressive consumer protection agenda, and as I mentioned, we're very proud of the fact that in the last 6 months, in terms of DCA, our consumer restitution is up 85% versus last year.
Commissioner Menin, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today.